the most interesting thing that I've written about was when I went to a event where a North Korean refugee who had been advocating for decades to for better rights for North Koreans, she came and spoke about her experience, and I wrote about it. I got to meet her and talk to her and stuff.
And welcome back to the Voice for You podcast, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Today, I'm joined by a young leader in our community. She is the founder of 38 Freedom, a youth-led nonprofit which advocates for the rights of North Koreans. With this, her and her team have set up many gatherings, from volunteer training to being part of Colorado Springs' first ever annual Korean Culture Festival as a sponsor. She is also an FBLA competitor and a nationally ranked varsity competitor for speech and debate, leading her community for a better tomorrow, not just for herself, but for those around her. She is Miss Bahnya Kim. How are you doing today, Bahnya?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. First off, I did pronounce the name right.
Yes.
Okay. I hate it when people butcher my name. You know, it says Jeshwant. People have butchered my name so much. I've cut the one off. I just go by Jesh. I hate it when people butcher it. It's absolutely crazy.
I know.
But you know, how's your day been? Obviously,
It's been good. I went to the museum with my mom and my sister, but I did slip on ice and hurt my hand.
Ouch. What museum is,
Just an art museum, Denver Art Museum.
Art museum? Okay. I know I've never been to an art museum ever.
Really?
I want to go. I think, because I took APR history in sophomore year. I hated the class, but the art pieces were low-key kind of cool. I don't know, just seeing those in person. Is it like a super big art museum, or?
Yeah, I think it has 3 buildings, and we didn't
That's
get
pretty big.
to all of the exhibits or anything either.
Okay, so so it's an art museum. How did you get to the ice part? Is there like an ice rink there too, or?
So we went outside because I saw there's like a sensory garden, and so we went outside, and I just immediately slipped on ice, and it was so bad. But we ended up going to where all the signs lead to sensory garden, and nothing was there. It was just dead plants and grass.
Dead plants.
It was so disappointing.
I mean, it is the winter time, so it does make sense. Is it like super cold there right now, where you are?
It's chilly, like there's a breeze, but it is, it's not as cold as it should be. Like it should be in the low 10s, but it's warm, like the 60s and 50s.
Did it like snow the other day for y'all, or?
It did.
Okay.
It melted yesterday actually, but it's like all gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it wasn't like heavy snow.
No.
Man, snow's only fun when it's like the heavy snow.
It all just melted away, so.
Kids can't even, and especially when it's like during break time, because you can't even get off for the snow, so it's like lame. But you know, tell me a little bit more about yourself, your hobbies, your passions, and who you are as a person.
So a little bit about myself. I'm Korean American. I was born here in Colorado. I've lived here my whole life, and I go to a pretty large public school, which is how I get all the opportunities to be a part of speech and debate, be a part of FBLA, and see all the things that other young people do for their communities. My hobbies, I like public speaking a lot, and I know that's actually a big fear of a lot of people, but I like knowing that I can use my voice to help people. My words can have an impact. And I also write articles for a local newspaper. That's kind of another thing that I do on the side. Otherwise, I'd say I don't really have many hobbies. I'm not very creative, I feel like, but from time to time I will draw or paint, but yeah. Oh, I do like videography, so the FBLA event that I'm in requires us to create like a public service announcement. That's the event. But I really enjoy doing that, like the film and the cinematography part of it. So I'd say I like that as well.
That's actually funny, because last year, me and my team, we placed 8th in the nation for public service announcement, FBLA.
Wow.
So I know where exactly you're coming from with the PSA. Did you do PSA last year too?
I didn't do FBLA last year.
You didn't do FBLA last year. Okay. I don't know what the prompt was this year. Me and my team saw it, and we were like, thank goodness, because the prompt we had last year was low-key a lot easier than I think. What is the prompt this year?
Last year's was about mental health, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was.
This year's is about cyberbullying, which is really hard to depict on like a video, and we used actual people for hours instead of
Yeah.
having it all on like the screen because we wanted it to be unique, but it was so difficult and it was really hard to kind of emulate that vision that I had because it's like cyberbullying, it's online.
Yeah.
So that was pretty difficult.
Yeah. I know last year was healthy habits in the workplace.
Mm.
There's, to be honest, I feel like PSA is probably the easiest, like it's super easy to place in. Just because of the fact that if you look at the rubric itself, it's so concrete on what it wants. It's like specific, like they want 3 evidences of videography, like film techniques, and then 4 editing techniques. Like it's super specific. So that's what I personally liked, because before that me and my team did digital video production. That was a lot more vague, and that was a lot more annoying because of the vagueness, because we didn't know what the like judges wanted. Like state level, Tennessee states, I know Colorado is super competitive with FBLA.
Yeah.
I think I have their pin downstairs with my whole FBLA pins. Their pin was nice, but Tennessee State, it wasn't too bad. But national is like that murky water is where it gets like, scary, because everyone wants to place at nationals too. So
Yeah.
It's definitely something. But PSA was fun. Personally, I liked it a lot better than DVP. It's just because it was a shorter video, less editing time. You got to actually learn stuff too while doing everything. So I liked that. Obviously, you said you're into filmography. Do you watch cinema?
I actually don't watch a lot of movies or film at all, but I am I enjoyed really simple movies as well, like made for kids, and I'm just like very easily entertained, and I think that's why I'm really into cinematography. It's like I want to emulate like this feeling to other people of enjoyment or like this message, and so I'd say like I'm not really into film necessarily, but I really like the aspect of putting my vision out there and wanting people to see my message. So I like that part of it.
And that's in my opinion, that's the whole point of film, taking the impossible and making it into possible through the way of film. That's why I personally like it so much.
It's really fun, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, like you said, you have written for your local newspaper. So what is, in your opinion, the craziest or most interesting story that you have written about? Like your favorite story you've ever written about?
So it's a Korean local newspaper, so a lot of the stories I cover are around the Korean community here in Colorado, specifically Aurora, which is a city, or in general, just like the history of South Korea and since 38 Freedom is also involved with like the North Korean community rather than the South Korean one, I've gotten to learn a lot about both cultures. And I think the most interesting thing that I've written about was when I went to a event where a North Korean refugee who had been advocating for decades for better rights for North Koreans, she came and spoke about her experience, and I wrote about it. I got to meet her and talk to her and stuff. And I think the most interesting story I wrote was about that event, just because I learned so much about the North Korean community and how even when you escape, it's so difficult for them to assimilate, for them to find a citizenship or find a loving and good community. And so it actually inspired 38 Freedom. It was in November of last year, and I created 38 Freedom in March of this year. And so to me, I'd say that's like my favorite story I've written because it's created kind of the organization that I dedicate so much of my time to.
That's valid. I know a lot, like the struggles that North Koreans go through. It's very deep. With how it is over there, and the fact that I feel like a lot of people find inspiration through what other people say. So that I feel like that's probably like the main thing that inspires a lot of people to do, and obviously with 38 Freedom. But the first thing that when I did read about 38 Freedom, it was the name that stuck out to me. It's such a different name. So does the number 38 like signify anything, or how did you come up with the name in general?
So it comes from the 38th parallel at which South and North Korea are separated. They're the DMZ where that resides and stuff. And so that's where the number comes from. And the freedom generally just comes from our mission. Our mission isn't, I've gotten this from a couple of classmates and friends, and like, exactly what do we do? Because how are a group of high schoolers in America going to, I guess, like, free all North Koreans or unite the two Koreas? And I was like, okay, that I can totally see how that's unreasonable, but that's not exactly what we're trying to do. While there aren't many North Koreans in America that we know of, it's really important that we recognize that they're here. And there are more than you'd think. There aren't like thousands of them, but there are a lot. There are dozens. And I think Colorado has a really good Korean community, which is why a lot of North Koreans choose to come here, or at least visit and see what the Korean community is like, because it's easiest for them, because same language, similar food. And so the main point of 38 Freedom is to kind of show not just Colorado, but anyone who sees that there are young people who care about these people, who want these people here, because repatriation in China is when they send back North Koreans to North Korea, which is really horrible, and it's a human rights violations in itself. And so it's just showing people that young people want these people who have struggled for their whole lives here, and that they're supported. And that's why we do a lot of volunteer work in general, is because, like I said, there are only so many North Koreans that we can help and talk to and meet. And so it's mostly showing people that, hey, these North Korean people exist. They still go through this really bad humanitarian crisis, and they manage to escape, and they're living their own lives here in freedom. And that's really important to recognize. So it's more about showing people and reminding people that there are lives, such as North Koreans, that exist here in America.
And that's completely valid. But like you said, 38 Freedom, the whole like focus is to talk like for advocating the rights of North Koreans. Have you personally spoken to anybody that has, faced, fleeing from North Korea here and anything like that?
Mm-hmm. So my parents are actually friends with this couple who did escape from North Korea, and they were in the military as well. And they actually do have kids here who were born here, but it's just really interesting to see that, someone, and their kids actually go to my school. So it's really interesting to think that someone whose parents' lives are so vastly different from mine can live such, I guess, like a normal life like I do as an American at the same school, similar age. And the article that I wrote about that inspired 38 Freedom, the speaker, I also spoke with her. She actually lives in New York, but she was here just for an event. And, more than you think, there are just so many people around you who actually are from North Korea or have family members who fled from there. And so I've only directly spoken, like, face to face to two of them, but I've heard about many, and they've heard about 38 Freedom as well, which is pretty cool.
I wouldn't assume that there would be a lot of, people that, connected. Because, escaping North Korea itself is a very big feat. I know how, the DMZ and how they're all, super strict over there. So definitely, the fact that you were able to, have you ever talked to the couple that and their kids, and ever taken their experiences to add on to what you've done with 38 Freedom?
So I did speak with their kids before, and I've only ever actually spoken to their mom, but since the couple is friends with my parents, and we actually used to go up to the mountains and go ice fishing back when I was younger, so I don't quite remember it as vividly, but we've had a lot of times together to talk about it, and my parents are mainly the ones who told me what they went through and how they did it, what their lives were like. And so taking all of that experience, not from just the people that I personally know or personally have talked to, but I've done a lot of research into mainly what Americans, or I guess people who come to America from North Korea, go through. And we put a lot of emphasis on making sure people are constantly reminded that humanitarian crises exist all over the world, and it is a huge feat for someone to escape and decide their own lives from there, especially when they've lived under a dictatorship where they don't know any better, which is very impressive. And so we always kind of tie that into our mission of volunteering and giving back, because it shows a lot to the people around us. And since our mission statement is mainly focused on North Koreans, it's showing that these young people know what they go through, and we recognize it, but we still embrace you in our communities. And so 38 Freedom really tries to focus on kind of the human rights parts of it. And actually, the other day, earlier this month, December 10th, was International Human Rights Day, and it was created back in 1948 when the UN created the Universal Declaration of Human Rights after both world wars and lots of other proxy wars. And we made it a formal holiday in Aurora, and basically at that event we celebrated, we got to make this a formal holiday in the city of Aurora, where the holiday isn't really even celebrated in America as a country. But at the event we mainly just talked about human rights as a whole, about how it's so important, especially considering that a lot of privileged countries such as ours are also kind of falling into that human rights violations and crises. And so it's very important to recognize that we have a lot of privilege, and we have to remember that lots of people don't have the basic rights that we just kind of always live with. And so we always try to focus on the human rights part.
Definitely. I mean, with the whole basis being, advocating for human rights, was that idea for, creating the national holiday always there? Or was that just coming?
Actually, no. So in the beginning, I honestly didn't really have a direction, but I knew that I wanted to start an organization, a formal one, that was recognized under the government so that we could be taken more seriously. It actually was not in the plan at all. Our plan was mostly just to volunteer, maybe help testify for a bill that would improve human rights, or our mission for volunteering. And I know a lot of Korean communities care about 38 Freedom because they know how horrible the human rights in North Korea is. And so our main focus was just to kind of give back to those communities and volunteer and continue to show people that young people care about human rights. But it was actually one of our board members who came up with the idea of the proclamation, which is how we actually formalized the holiday, and which was really interesting. I had not thought about it, but 4 board members came together and they were like, let's create a petition online to show our city council that people really want this to be a holiday. And it was not my idea at all. I take no credit for it. 4 of my board members came up with it, and it was amazing. I was so shocked to hear them pitch it, and I was like, yes, let's go for it. It sounds perfect. It aligns with our mission perfectly, and this would not only just be great for our organization, but that's just an amazing holiday to want to celebrate. So I take no credit for creating or coming up with it at all. It was my board members, but yeah.
Definitely. And to even get to that position with board members, how were you able to take 38 Freedom from just an idea in your head to the point where your board members were suggesting to create this citywide, federal holiday?
So I started off with my board members just being kind of all my friends, and a lot of my board members are people who go to the same school as I do, or they go to a different school which is pretty nearby. But our board member consists of people mainly just from 2 schools, just because of my friends and who I knew. And I actually just got very lucky. These people are very ambitious, they're super smart, they have their own other passion projects that they're doing and things that they love to do. And so I honestly just got lucky to have friends like that and who are willing to help. And out of the 4 people that pitched the idea are some of my closest friends. And so I kind of just got lucky, and I think that comes with my privilege of this kind of school that I go to. It's very competitive. It's 4,000 kids. Yeah.
Dang, okay.
And so...
Dang. Because my school is 3,000. Whenever I tell someone, my school has 3,000 kids, people get shocked, what? My school has 400, 500. 4,000 is crazy. How big is your class? 1,000.
So it's about 990 something. But dang, it's a lot of kids, yeah.
I'm struggling out here with 715 trying to be there. Dang, okay.
Yeah, and so that kind of comes with the school, how I introduced myself, the school that I go to, and it gives me all these opportunities. I get to meet some really, really amazing people there, and I got just kind of lucky with my board, and they're always ready to help. A lot of my closest friends are on this board, and they're always coming and volunteering and helping, so I just got kind of lucky with that. But it was a struggle to structure it at first, and I didn't really want to cut anyone because I felt like everyone had a place there. Everyone had their own strength they could bring. And as it's progressed, we've lost some members, but it's completely okay. Like, it hasn't affected my relationship with these people at all. It's just, it's not a good fit for them, and that's okay. It'll help us become even better in the future. I strongly believe that them leaving was the right choice, not because I think they were bad at their job at all, but if it's not working for them, then it's just not. But I just got kind of lucky with the people.
Definitely. I can definitely agree with that. Some people just aren't meant to be, well, that's kind of harsh. The fact that you're able to separate your like personal life to your work life, that's definitely something a lot of people need to learn. Keep your work stuff separate, keep your friends separate. You know, obviously you can have an overlap, but just because something happens in your work life doesn't mean it has to affect your personal life, and vice versa. But when you're here to work, you're here to work. When you're not. Yeah. And not everything is meant to like be, if someone is trying to go into like pre-med and is doing something in doing engineering stuff, like they're just doing it for the resume, and you want people that are more inspired or like have a drive to do it because they want to do it, rather than it's a resume builder. And that's a big problem in what I'd say in today's generation. Everything people do is just for the resume, and it's like there's no other reason behind it. So, you know, having that passion, that's a big thing that I talk about, just because, you know, if you do something you're passionate about, that work turns into not like play, but it becomes a lot more, you know, chill.
It becomes just kind of natural because it's something you care about.
Exactly.
And I think I completely agree with you that so many people like in our generation do things just for college or like the resume. And I think a lot of people expected that of me when I started 38 Freedom, because, you know, coming from the school that I do, a lot of people had tried creating nonprofit organizations, have tried creating, you know, these volunteer groups, and they usually just fall apart because, and I've seen people who go into like, for example, policy or like political science, do groups more involved towards environmental help or engineering or math, and it's just like, it kind of doesn't make sense with the kind of person you are. But I feel like 38 Freedom, coming from someone who is Korean, not necessarily North Korean, but I feel like culturally I'm really resonant with 38 Freedom. And also because I do speech and debate, I do a lot of competitions where it requires me to speak up and get over the fear of public speaking, that it's just kind of almost second nature for me to continue my organization that uses advocacy and their own voices to help others. So it's just like natural for me. I don't know.
Exactly. I got the same stuff with with this podcast. A lot of people, you know, still today, they come up to me and it's like, yo, what are you gonna do with your podcast afterwards? Like in their mind, they're already like decided like, you started the podcast just for like college apps, just to put something on there and go. I'm a D1 yapper. I like talking. I like meeting new people. So I mean, the podcast is the best outlet for that. You know, meeting people and, you know, talking to them and getting inspired from their stories too. So, you know, a lot of people have that stigma that if someone does something super great, it's because they want to do it for college apps. But like in my case, like I'd say like my top 5 ECs, like maybe one of them was for college apps, and that was an internship just to see like what I wanted to do in college. But other than that, my top 5 ECs are all stuff that I wanted to do because I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
and they're like,
you have a pretty great resume. I looked at it on LinkedIn, and I saw the podcast when you first reached out. I looked it up online, I looked it up on YouTube, and I was like, wow, like he's actually done so much stuff with this. This is really impressive. And I know I asked you before the recording, how long are the interviews going to take? I was actually very impressed that they were actually of solid length for an interview. They weren't like 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm also pretty impressed by Voice for You, and I'm actually really honored to be on the podcast.
Thank you. No, it's an honor for the fact that you know, reached back out and joined. That's more of an honor to me. I don't know, like I said, I'm a D1 yapper, so I could sit like for hours and hours just talk about random stuff. Like I don't know, like I don't have social cues like that, but you know, when it comes to like FBLA, I serve as Tennessee state vice president. I didn't run for that position because I wanted like to put it on my resume. I did it because one of my friends, he was a state officer for like one of the other CTSOs. He'd come like every single time, come up to us, oh, this happened here, this happened here. I was like, I want to be a part of that too. You know, it seemed like so much fun. Same thing with the podcast. You know, I've met so many people through this, and you know, so many new connections, and you know, just other stuff in general. But I personally think if you're not passionate about what you do, then there's no point in doing it. Like, because there are a lot of people that do stuff just for college apps and they just leave it once they get into college. And I find it really, really silly just in general.
Yeah. And I think usually those projects aren't as great as the ones that, I'm sure the meaning behind it is honorable and admirable, but, you know, people who are really passionate about it will show over time that they love doing it. Like the podcast, I can see that it's grown so much for however long you've been doing it. And it's really impressive, and I can tell that it's not just for college apps because, you know, I don't know if this software is your own, but it's not a software that I'm familiar with either. And so it just goes to show, like, you put a lot of effort into this, so it's really great, actually.
Thank you. Actually, the software, ironically, I signed up for it, like, because I have had multiple podcasts before. Like, I used to run back in, like, 6th grade, I used to run a basketball podcast with one of my good friends at the time, and we'd use Spotify for creators, and this platform was like it's connected to Spotify, so it was suggested there. So when I started Voice for You, this whole thing was a shower thought, by the way. Like, I was sitting in the shower and I was like, yo, what if I just create a podcast where I could just like interview people like crazy leaders and just like talk to them. You know, I have a reason now to like actually talk to people. And then like I thought of everything in the shower. I hopped out of the shower and I just created everything in like a span of an hour.
That's really cool, actually,
Yeah.
because it took me a lot of time to actually start 38 Freedom, and I think not because I didn't want to, I think I was just so excited to do all of these things, and I didn't know how to go about it. Technically, the organization is filed under the state as of December of last year, but I didn't start doing things with it until March, because I didn't know where to start. There were just too many things I wanted to do, and there kind of is no precedent for 38 Freedom. And so I was like, okay, let's just volunteer. Let's see how it goes. And from there, like, the Korean community started reaching out to us first, and it was just amazing. So it was actually really hard for me to get the ball rolling at first. So it's actually crazy impressive that you said that you just got it started up in the shower and it was like all done in an hour. That's like really impressive.
And everyone takes their own different times too. Just like some people take a second, some people like get the ball rolling. Like I said, I already had experience with podcasts, so I kind of had an idea of. Sure, it was like 6th grade, like 5 years ago, but it's still like registered in my head. I tried starting a normal podcast, you know, just like a simple, like, you know, just interview, like having conversations with my friends and just like talking about life and stuff. We recorded one episode for that. That was never posted because one of the people on the interview was like, can you remove me from the interview? And total, I was like, I don't know how to edit this. And I was like, I give up. I gave up on the spot. But obviously, like, that brings up another question that I have. So, but you said that you filed it last year, December, and then you started it in March. Was there anybody that you could, was there anyone that you would say helped, you know, get that ball rolling, you know, inspiration to, you know, figure out what that next step was?
Ironically, it was my parents, and that kind of makes it sound like it was like, you gotta do this for college. And the inspiration to start like a non-profit organization did come from all these videos about what these college kids are doing and what they did in high school. My parents were like, why don't you start one? And I was like, okay. And the meaning and my intention behind it are very honest, and they don't really come from anyone else, just kind of my own experience. The idea of an actual nonprofit organization did come from other high schoolers, but it was definitely my parents who helped me file it under the state and everything. My mom helped me find the website, and she is like the adult that does all the kind of financial work, and she's the, I guess, adult representative of the organization since I'm not 18. But I'd say it was mostly my parents that helped me with all the logistical stuff. And still to this day, they help a lot with finding volunteer opportunities or people that need help in the Korean community because they're so closely connected to it. But, you know, otherwise a lot of it has come from just other initiatives that come from either me or the students within 38 Freedom themselves, like the proclamation to make the event formal, was not from no one else except these students within the board. So I'd say, but in the beginning, it was a lot of my parents' help.
Definitely. I know personally, when it comes to like, low-key, like, parents are your best tool for anything, to get anything done. They have so many connections, like, genuinely. Like, because my dad knows so many people in the city of Memphis. So whenever I get something from him and he tells me to do it because somebody else, like, at that moment in time, I'm like, oh, I don't want to, like, rely on my parents for everything, because I want to be my own person. But genuinely, I don't think I would be, like, I don't think anyone would be in their place where they are without their parents, helping them and guiding them with their connections and stuff too. And that matters a lot. The connection your parents have, it plays a big role. And
especially because they know you so well, and, there's no strings attached either. They just want to help their child be successful. And I think I'm very lucky to have parents who support me and constantly think about 38 Freedom for me instead of, obviously a lot of the work that happens comes from myself or my team. However, like you said, without my parents, it would not be where it is right now, and it might not have even existed. So
Exactly. And that's just like with any parents in general. They want the best for their kids. So obviously, but your work with 38 Freedom has extended past your parents, and you have been noticed very, very much by local news areas like Fox 21 News. So how do you believe as a high schooler you were able to get adults to take you seriously? Because I know it's super hard to get adults to seriously take your work seriously. Like, oh, I'll help this kid just because he's a 17-year-old trying to get something started. I'll just give him this, and they don't take you seriously. So how did you get these adults to take your work seriously?
I think a lot of it is just having that team to show that there are multiple people who want this. Like, it's not just me. It's not a personal desire. It is my organization. It's what we want. It's not necessarily me as a child or like a teenager who wants this. It's just, I'm kind of like the face of the organization, I guess. And so I didn't really have a problem with it at first, but I have gone through challenges where it's like, I don't get taken as seriously because I'm a kid by other kids rather than adults. I think especially surrounding the work that 38 Freedom does in particular with like volunteering and advocating, adults are actually really impressed by it, whereas kids kind of just don't take it as seriously, and they're like, how are you going to do this when you can't free all North Koreans, which kind of ties back to what I was saying before. Like, that's just not possible, or this is just another thing you're doing for college. So it's actually the other kids in my life who don't take me as seriously as the adults do. And I'd say that kind of is different for everyone. It depends on the work or what you're trying to get done, because I've been told by a lot of adults that the work 38 Freedom does is very impressive, because I guess, and I've been told this verbatim as well, that they just can't imagine themselves as a 16 or 17-year-old doing this at their age. And so maybe that's why it's a little bit different for adults than it is for kids, where for kids they just kind of don't see that it's hard for a teenager to do.
Definitely. I feel like, bro, kids can be the most savage people ever. They don't have a filter whatsoever. Like, genuinely, I'm scared of like some kids in my school. If you do something, it could be the most impressive thing. They still got something crazy to say.
Yeah.
Always.
And I'd like to think it's not jealousy or anything like that, but I think especially as college becomes a lot harder to get into and everything just becomes so competitive that it's not that they're jealous of you or they don't like you or they're not impressed by the work you do. It's more like they're my competition. Like, I have to beat them to get into college. And I think that kind of mindset is so toxic. And I won't 100%. Lie, like, I find myself falling into that as well. But when you have the intention to do things because you love it, because you have the passion to do it rather than just doing it for college, that's when you see different results. Because I know so many people who say, like in speech and debate, they're like, oh, I'm just going to do this for points. Like, this is an easy event, so I'm going to do this. And they'll say that about my event, which is Congressional debate. And I think a lot of people don't take it seriously because they say it's easy points and you don't really have to talk for like the entirety of the round. And so a lot of people kind of diss on my event and they're like, it's so easy, like that's why you do well. And I always tell them, right now I'm actually kind of like mentoring a sophomore right now who is trying to get into beginning debate because it's a class, like something you have to take at our school to be a part of the team. And he's kind of fallen into that mindset where it's like, if I do this, how many points will I get? What can I do to maximize the amount of points I get? And I always tell him, don't fall into that mindset. It's going to ruin you. You're not going to see the results that you want if you do it just for the points or you do it just for the name or the recognition, because that's not what it's for. And so I think it's really sad that people have that mindset, but it is what it is.
Definitely. Obviously, you're a junior right now, so obviously you have a second till college app season. But as a senior, the amount of questions that I get from like my peers itself, because like obviously being of the Asian community, a lot of people are competitive, crazy competitive. So it's like, what school are you applying to? What's your essay like this? What's this? What's that? People ask, but people like, it's so hard for people to like, people don't share. It's a lot of gatekeeping is a very big thing here, and I personally think gatekeeping is very stupid. Just because like, if someone really wants to compete against you and you lose to them, that just shows you're not like worthy. If you're gonna be good, be like the best at it, like obviously. So everything I do, I make it very public, very clear. And my mom says that's a bad thing, but to be honest, it's like,
Mine too.
yeah,
She says that like people use it against you and they'll out like one up you. And I'm like, there are some things you can keep private, but this is actually something I'm proud of and I want to show people that I'm good at it. It's not a matter of hiding my success so that in fear of someone else using it against me. It's more like I'm sharing what I do because I love it.
Exactly. And it's just like, helping somebody out. If someone asks you something, I mean, it's just helping a person out. If it's like they're going to use that against you for ammo, then just fire back harder. Like, what? Like, easiest thing to do ever. But, obviously, along with 38 Freedom, like you just did mention, you are a national qualifier for speech and debate. And you did mention that, first off, how did you get into speech and debate? Have you been doing this since middle school, or what's your story with it?
So the school that I went to in middle school did not offer, honestly, they didn't offer any programs to support us in high school. It's just kind of, because it's a charter school, so it's more independent. Their goal isn't to help you with like a specific high school, because everyone goes to different ones. And so I didn't do speech and debate in middle school, but I was student council president of 8th grade. And when I gave a speech at our like graduation continuation thing, my gifted and talented teacher was like, you should definitely do speech and debate at Cherry Creek High School, which is the public school that I go to right now, because they have a really, really good and rigorous speech and debate program. So I was like, sure. And I never realized that people are very afraid of public speaking in front of large crowds. Now, I won't say I'm like the best public speaker ever, but I just didn't really find it as scary as other people. I realized that I have this natural, love of public speaking, and I'm not afraid of it. And so I think that's kind of what's put me where I am now, where I went to nationals as a sophomore. I didn't move it past prelim rounds, but I'd say my performance this year as a junior has been so much better than my performance as a sophomore, just because I went to nationals. And it was just amazing to see that there are so many kids who are just so good at this, and it's crazy because I've never seen someone as good. Like in my prelim rounds, I had the runner-up champion in my event in my preliminary rounds, so I got to see him for 2 days straight, like 3 rounds, how he does it. And it was just like, the video just doesn't give it justice. He's such a good speaker. But kind of off track, but I'd say that as a freshman I was also not as involved because I just, like, again, I didn't really know where to start. I think that's a big problem that I have. But my grade in particular in speech and debate is mostly male. And so in speech and debate, there's this whole conversation about how judges perceive you just because of your gender, like before you even say anything. And I have gotten comments that prove that true, where I'd say some of my best competition in speech debate on the local circuit is a lot of males, especially in my event where there aren't a lot of females either. And so it's really frustrating to see comments that call me like hysterical and adversarial, which are actual words that have been in my ballots, whereas I speak at the same volume or the same tone as like a male competitor, and I know for a fact that he doesn't get those kind of comments. So I guess that's like an obstacle that I faced in my speech and debate career, but it's something that's really prevalent in my life. Like when someone asks me what my biggest extracurricular is, I'd say speech and debate, not necessarily 38 Freedom. I just see that as kind of like a thing that I just do, not really an extracurricular. But I would say speech and debate because I also compete every weekend. And so I guess, yeah. It also comes with the privilege of my school. We're super rigorous. We are a huge school, so we get invited to a lot of competitions. And so when you're in speech and debate, it's really hard not to get super involved because our program is really good.
I know I'm not a part of my school speech and debate, but I know our speech and debate. I've had friends, some of my closest friends, my senior friends last year, a lot of them did speech and debate. They went some crazy stuff. I know they went to New Orleans last year. They went to Harvard. So I know the speech and debate culture is like very, very deep. I've seen kids, just like writing, what's it called? I forgot what they call
cases?
Yeah, cases, that's the word. Yeah. I've just seen kids writing cases like in the spirit, like free time. It's like, oh, downtime, you can like teachers like downtime, you can do whatever you want. These speech and debate kids are writing cases the whole time. I'm like, and they're really good at what they do too. Yeah. Like genuinely.
It's crazy. Speech and debate is also one of those events that I'd say is just, there's just so much competition. Like the FBLA part where my FBLA program at my school is also very competitive. A lot of people just kind of do it for the name. So I think it becomes even more toxic because people are like trying to put you down and just so that they can be better. It's like, because they see you as competition.
Yeah, there's always going to be people like that, but you just gotta, how do you make this G? You gotta flip them off and move on. Yeah. Like genuinely, there's gonna be like haters 24/7. You can't do anything about it either.
Yeah.
Like that's the annoying part. You can't do anything about them. I know there's a lot of kids. But even with all those haters, I think there's a lot of people that they don't say anything, but they secretly admire what you do too. Like when I talk to people, I just hear constant like hate, coming towards me. It's like, oh, you do this, oh, you do that, oh, there's this about you. But then secretly behind the screens, some of my close friends, they come up to me and it's like, yo, this person was like saying, oh my God, you're so lucky to be, connected with this guy. He has this. And it's just like, I wish people, were more, upfront about the good stuff rather than the bad stuff. Like,
I hear a lot of bad stuff about just everything. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm not as great as what I do. But then I'll hear from my friends, they're like, oh, this person actually thinks this way about you, or these people actually think very highly of you. And I'm like, why did I not hear about this? Why do I hear this from you?
Exactly. Like it's a lot better if you make somebody feel better with your own words rather than, oh, this person said this. It's like what? Like, thank you, but
I want to hear it from you.
Exactly. So, did you choose congressional debate? Or would you say congressional debate chose you?
I'd say that I chose congressional debate because when I was a freshman, so our beginning debate program accepts freshmen and sophomores, and I joined when I was a freshman. And pretty much the only thing that you're allowed to do is congressional debate or novice in very few other events. And so a lot of people just tend to reach for congressional debate. Like, a lot of my competition also will be freshmen. And so, but I'd say that, again, I wasn't that involved as a freshman just because I was actually very intimidated and I just didn't know where to start. And then as a sophomore, I kind of really only knew congressional debate. I did PF because that's the class that I'm in for advanced debate, but I just stuck with what I was already comfortable with, and I found out that I was actually, getting pretty good at it. And so I'd say that I chose it because I had the opportunity to continue to do PF. I actually only really started competing Congress very rigorously this year. Last year I did maybe only like 3 to 4, but I'd say that I chose it. And I also really love congressional debate. I love the way it's set up. A lot of people hate the way that it's set up because I don't know if you know, but it's pretty much 15 people about in one room, and you basically act as Congress members, legislation that is proposed, and you speak on it, you give speeches, why we should pass it or why we should not pass it, and a lot of the time you won't be sitting there talking a lot, whereas for other debates, you are pretty much talking the whole time. And so a lot of people hate that part of Congress, but that's actually the part I love, because I get to see so many different people talk about it and share their opinions on it. And then, you still have the opportunity to ask questions, so you can still talk technically if you want the entire time. But I love the way Congress is set up because there's just so many different people. It's not one competitor against you.
I mean, yeah, that's how Congress works in the actual Congress. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, it does seem like that good starter event. Do you plan on doing it next year too as a senior, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most seniors try out for captain, and usually all captains are seniors. And so a lot of the seniors try to kind of step back and instead coach and help. I know a lot of seniors who continue to compete on the same level as they did as a junior or a sophomore, but I notice that a lot of them tend to step back and only go to help work the tournament or just give the younger ones a chance to go to state and nationals because the spots are very limited.
Exactly. I mean, that helps them with their resume and their future comparatively to, a senior trying to save money for college. So, definitely that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. But, after all of this, your work with 38 Freedom and your work as a nationally ranked, debater, this show is about the Voice for You podcast. Our tagline is to empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. So what is some advice that you would give to students who are trying to achieve what you have and are trying to do, trying to make a name for themselves as well?
So I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give, regardless of who you are or what you're trying to do, is stay focused on the goal. Don't let distractions or people talk down on you. Just continue to do what you do. Even at first, it's so hard because whatever obstacle exists, just push through because it'll all be worth it in the end. You'll see how much you've grown. The biggest piece of advice that I wish I would have given myself a year ago is just don't let these distractions or anything put you down. At first, I was really nervous about starting too, just because I was worried about what other people had to say about 38 Freedom, which is something that I've kind of grown out of now that 38 Freedom and as I've grown. But I was also worried that a lot of people wouldn't want to join or help because there are only so many Korean people in my community, and so just don't let those things distract you or overcome your goals and your ambition, because it'll just all kind of fade away as you continue and you'll get even stronger. So I think my biggest piece of advice I can give is just don't stay focused on the goal and you'll get the benefits and see the results that you want.
Definitely. I really feel like when it comes to goals too, the more that you push towards it, it doesn't seem like you're pushing towards just small steps. But once you turn back and look, you've gone so far that and you don't realize it either. It's so much, and you're just doing it because you like it, and it's one little step here, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna take another step, and then another step, and then it just builds up, and it's I've made it this far. What the heck? It definitely
pays off. I didn't think that I'd ever get invited to such a podcast like this and talk about my experience, because just a year ago 38 Freedom barely existed, and now I'm on here talking about the things that we've done and how my experience with it has gone. And it's just crazy to think, because I would have never expected that I would be on here talking about it, because I didn't think that I'd have things to talk about. But yeah, I think it's so worth it. Just don't let the haters talk down on you. Truly, just ignore the haters.
definitely. I'm on the same boat. At least like last year at this time, at least you had, like the paperwork. If I took today last year, this podcast didn't exist. Like it wasn't even in my mind.
Oh,
Like
really?
I created it. Yeah, I created it in March or April of this year. So like I could say the same thing too. Like if I didn't take the steps, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to, you about your work with 38 Freedom. I could say the exact same thing. In fact, you started earlier than me. So like if I didn't take, cause completely off rip, a lot of people came up to me with this podcast and they were like, it's just another podcast. He's going to be interviewing people that he knows in like his house, his closest friends. My first 2 episodes were with like people I knew. Ironically, so basically that first episode, it was 2 people. One of the guys I knew, the other one I met through that episode. The guy that I met through that episode went and spoke. He was, I think, the youngest person ever to go speak at a the actual like UN, the United Nations Assembly. So this was like, I was like, that was my first ever interview. Like I didn't even know he was doing all this. It was my first ever interview. So, and then after that, I interviewed my co-presidents for my FBLA. So it's like those small little steps. Like these are people that you just know, and then it just grows to a situation that you're in and I'm in right now to be, thankful to be enough to be in a position like this. So definitely, I say just trust the process, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, so what? Definitely. But once again, Bahnya, thank you so much for joining today on the episode, sharing your words of wisdom and your experience. It truly means a lot to me that taking a chance on the podcast. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me here, Jeshwant. And really, I'm really excited to see what Voice for You continues to do, judging by what our conversations entail. Sounds like you'll be continuing to do this, and Voice for You will continue to do great things. And so I look forward to seeing what it will grow into.
And same thing at 38 Freedom. I know that y'all are probably going to expand, across with how much passion you've shown. I personally think that it's going to expand past Colorado, in my opinion, but, I definitely say the same for you. I see how passionate you are with this and the work that you've done. And it's only, the sky's the limit at this point. Yeah. So, just work to be done. And that's it. Obviously you have a very long time too. So, you're set. Like you're definitely set, but
Thank you.
Definitely. But once again, thank you so much for joining the episode. To the viewers at home, thank you for watching till the very end. Remember to follow the Voice for You podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and stream our episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or wherever you stream your podcasts. And once again, I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Thank you so much, Bahnya, for joining the episode today, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.